Today, my Carolina Panthers had their introductory press conference for newly hired head coach Frank Reich. But I want to bring you all's attention to something that took place after the initial press conference, where owner of the Carolina Panthers, David Tepper, made some very, very interesting comments that I want to talk about. And we're going to get into that right after this.
From the foe, you dig?
Welcome to The Way I See It with Jamario Rashad. This is a Carolina Panthers and Charlotte Hornet fan channel. Please do me a favor by hitting the like button, and please make sure you subscribe, as I am on my road to 1K, trying to get this channel monetized. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get to this report. Now, I'm sure many of you all were listening live or watching live while you were either work from home, at the job, wherever you are, to the introductory conference of Frank Reich today. But what was a lot more explosive, in my opinion, were the reports and the videos that surfaced on Twitter of the post-conference, press conference that took place, where the GM, Scott Fitterer, as well as owner of the Carolina Panthers, David Tepper, took questions, and he revealed some very interesting retrospective about the past, where he admits that he might have made a mistake. Now, we're going to see if we have a mutual understanding of who we think caught astray after we listen to this audio. Now, I'm going to let you all hear it, and we're going to come back and react to it right after this. Now, let's go ahead and get to this audio.
As I said before,
the league's gone.
I said before, it's better to have first off, I think it's every year we get in these NFL meetings, okay, and every year they put some new rule to benefit the offense every single year. And it's never going to end. It's never going to end. Okay, every year. And the reason it is scoring brings eyeballs, okay? That's what the league's about, getting eyeballs to watch the thing. So I can tell you again, the new rules will be offense-minded rules. I don't know what they are yet, but they will be offense-minded rules. So you have that challenge, first. And then the second challenge you have is, and I made this mistake, I think it's a mistake to have a CEO type head coach, okay? That's a mistake, just in general. That's what I kind of believe. So I think you want to get somebody who's really good on offense or really good on defense. And, we think that Frank, is really good on offense.
Pow!
So I assume the guy we had was not good on offense and or defense, and we all can agree on that, right? So as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh shit, he took a shot right at Matt Rhule. I know he might have been trying to frame that in the perspective of him talking about himself, but no, Mr. Tepper. I saw right through that, and I have to admit I respect it a little bit for you being able to admit that you did that. But I'm going to give my audience a little bit more perspective on just what took place behind the scenes during those 2.5 years while Matt Rhule had his ass in the building, and partially part of the reasons why he got fired. So I am going to bring you all's attention to this report by CBS reporter Jonathan Jones that came out just a few months ago. Beyond the failure to find a franchise quarterback, Rhule failed to meet his own standards that he set in place at the start of his Panthers tenure. A document obtained by CBS Sports via a source titled "The Way of the Panther" was purported and created by Rhule early in his time as the Panthers coach. It amounts to a three-piece treaty on the team's process and vision under Rhule.
Pepsi tastes like Pepsi 24 hours a day. We have a brand at the Panthers.
Now, I'm going to pause right there and just point out the fact that this guy had his head so far up his college coaching ass that he was calling the Panthers organization, or referring to the team, or coming to the team, as being at the Panthers. This isn't at Baylor. This isn't at Nebraska. This isn't at Temple. We are the Panthers. And you and your college level rhetoric couldn't even get along with the times and understand the job that you had, although you had been courted by multiple teams, us as well as the Giants, and you have been afforded $62 million for a 7-year, not 3, not 4, a 7-year contract, and you could not even get the grip of being an NFL head coach. But that is just a little tangent I wanted to go on. Let's get back to this report.
This brand defines us both on the field and in everyday life. We are the toughest, hardest working, most competitive team in the NFL.
You're talking like you're coaching PAL, Mighty Might, Junior Pee Wee, just some type of kids like these are grown ass men with their own kids, probably high school age, either about to be that age, that have mortgages to pay, and you're speaking to them as if you can call their parents and get them in trouble or something like that, like they're 19, 20 years old, like they're children. You could not motivate these men out of a freaking brown paper bag talking like this. Now, let's go on to the next part of the next part that I wanted to highlight in this report. That was a little bit further down. The document states that if you can't write it down, this plan and the brand, the staff members, is not OOU. This was an acronym commonly used in the building that stands for one of us. OOU was regularly used in the draft and free agency process to determine whether players Carolina should or should not target. So, can you imagine how lame it was, how lame this grown-ass man walking around was, potentially interviewing a player in the draft or a young player or even an older player in free agency, having a one-on-one conversation with him, deciding, shaking his hand, saying, okay, good interview, going back to whomever the brass that helps him make these decisions is and saying, you know what, guys, he isn't OOU. I just don't think that he's OOU. You know how lame that, bro? That's lame as fuck, bro. And this was the guy that was coaching an NFL team, OOU. This guy essentially, this was a 3-page treaty or treatise, however you say that word, that he handed out to everybody, the staff, the team. This was a guy that essentially handed out a syllabus at the beginning of the semester. And if you're anything like me, I would have walked into that class on the first day, looked at that syllabus and said, you know what? I'm going to holler at my advisor. This guy's out of his mind. What the hell are you talking about? That's the only thing the only analogy I can really make out of this, because this guy's acting as if he is running a college program. Now I have to read this last stanza here, and I promise I will move on from this report. Now, Tepper said that he had a short, cordial conversation with Rhule upon hiring the head coach, calling him a true gentleman. What the absolute fuck? David Tepper basically said, you know what? I like the cut of that boy's jib. That guy, got a great feeling about that guy. It's just something about, and that was the way that you decided who should be the face, the head, the decision maker, one of the head decision makers of a multi-billion-dollar company, one of only 32 in the entire world. You decided that just because, I think he's a gentleman, and you had a short, cordial conversation with him, that he was a good enough person and a CEO enough of a person to be able to come in and run your company. David Tepper, that is negligence of duty on your part, and your ass needs to be brought to the carpet for that, because what the hell are you talking about? A short, cordial conversation, and then you gave the man $62 million for 7 years? I wish my life was like that. I guess I'm just hating. Tepper had allowed Ron Rivera to have a farewell press conference upon his 2019 firing, something that was rarely seen in the NFL. In the 6 days since Rhule's firing, the team has yet to even post a thank you message on social media. Now, why do I find that important? Why would I find it important to bring up the social media aspect of this? Well, I'll tell you why, because I am going to bring up yet another report by a local Fox reporter, Will Kunkel, that reads, and I quote, I'm told Matt Rhule was an extremely hands-on coach with the Panthers. He even got involved with creative sides in regards to what he did and did not want on social media, etc. Close quote. Who the hell hired this man and said that you are the head of marketing? You get to decide these things. If you are like me and of age and have been on the internet and have been on Twitter for a few years now, you will know that the Carolina Panthers Twitter page was regarded as one of the most fun, most entertaining, and one of the most highly engaged with social media platforms across any of them in the entire world in regards to sports. Over the 2 years that Matt Rhule was here, all of that went away. All of that creativity, all of that engagement, all of that fun that we as fans were able to have went away. And we sat wondering, why is that? Well, it came out in this report that Matt Rhule essentially was the reason why none of that happened. He thought that he was so important, that he had so much control, that he could decide that what the marketing team should find good for the school, like he's like doing recruiting or something like that. Now we're going to move on to the next part of this, and I'm going to be the final part of this. He mentioned that David Tepper, that is, mentioned that if you are going to be a coach, you either need to be really good at offense or really good at defense. And I think we can all agree that Matt Rhule was not good at either of them. In his 2 full seasons that he had in the NFL, be it the 2020 and the 2021 season, in 2021, the offense was 16th in passing yards per game and 20th in rush yards per game. On the defensive side of the ball, they were 20th in pass yards allowed per game and 17th in rush yards allowed per game. They were either middle of the pack or in the end or in the back of the line of every one of these statistical categories. Just absolutely terrible in his first year. Now let's go ahead and look forward to what he did in 2021. In 2021, on the offensive side of the ball, the Carolina Panthers were 29th in passing yards per game and 20th in rush yards per game, with one of the most dynamic weapons in the NFL. And I do not want to hear a word about McCaffrey going down after we saw what we were able to do without him this year. That is a moot point. I do not give a damn. Now moving on to what he was able to do on the defensive side of the ball. In 2021, he actually progressed in both these categories, but not enough to make me think that he deserved to not have his ass fired the very next year. In 2021, on the defensive side, of the ball, the Carolina Panthers were 18th in pass yards allowed per game and 3rd in rush yards allowed per game. I honestly think that is flipped. I apologize. They were 3rd in pass yards allowed, and that was because the addition of us drafting J.C. Horn and a guy that is oddly enough no longer on the team. I'm pretty much certain that this guy had something to do with it. We had a guy that was a former defensive player of the year at cornerback, being Stephon Gilmore, who is no longer with the team. I believe that they had a lot to do with us being ranked 3rd in passing yards allowed per game, because we had a very talented secondary with our newly acquired rookie, our former defensive player of the year, and Dante Jackson officially moving into that 2nd or 3rd cornerback role where he can actually thrive, where we don't have to expect too much out of him. That's the only reason why I can say that the defense progressed. I'm not putting any of that on Matt Rhule, or if anybody gets any credit, I guess it would be Phil Snow or whomever. But if you had to ask the question, was he good on offense or was he good on defense? He was good on neither. So in conclusion, man, I pretty much felt as though a lot of what David Tepper was trying to say that was congratulatory or positive about Frank Reich in any connotation has to somewhat be taken as him taking shots at what his former coach or coaches were not, be it mainly Matt Rhule and him mentioning the entire CEO thing. But with that being said, what do you all think about this topic, man? Do you all think that David Tepper was taking shots at Matt Rhule? And if so, do you think he was justified in doing that? Whatever you all think, leave your comments down below. Be sure to like the video. Remember, I'm Jamario Rashad. This is the way I see it, and I'm now. Peace.